Hi my fellow Scriabinoids. Today we are discussing chordal nuances in pianistic texture. It applies very well to Scriabin's works, but not only. So if you are interested in improving your chordal technique on piano, especially if you have small hands, keep watching. So this video is going to contain several parts and examples of various ways to break large chords, especially with small hands. I have begun to explore rolling or breaking large chords in non-conventional ways, let's say, such as adding the bass notes after the upper voices or staggering the chord elements in different parts. This is what I call stacking. For me, these choices no longer seem as deviations from what is regarded as a conventional norm. Usually, this is rolling upwards from the bass note and often not taking extra time. Something like this. And it can be aimed either towards the beat or starting from it. But I treat chord breakages and rolls as strategies that emphasize textural meanings, voice leading, thematic or motivic dominance, as well as add emotional depths to the artistic interpretation and musical performance. Such techniques allow for a more fluid, dynamic interaction between various layers of the chords, enhancing both harmonic and melodic clarity. These decisions have been partly necessitated by the size of my hand, and I can reach the ninths, but not really the tenths. It's not reliable, and with my left hand I cannot reach the tenths at all. So my hand span, unfortunately, quite often limits me from reaching a chord in its entirety. For an example of playing the bass after the rest of the chord, I would like to actually refer to the roll recording of Désir, opus 57, number 1, by the composer himself, who boldly rolls a chord upwards in measure 12, however, placing the bass significantly later, on beat 3 instead of the beat 1. This seemingly eccentric choice is, I propose, evidence of a holistic, movement-suffused sense of timing rather than a mere whimsy. It supports one of my main ideas in regard to his thinking process. Scriabin's pianola recordings can be regarded not as idiosyncratic deviations from his scores, but as manifestations of an extended cross-modally perceived temporal logic, because he was thinking in cross-medial terms already in his brain, even though he was only with the piano. But I think he had so many other things being born in his mind together with the music. Let me know if you're interested in this topic, if you want to see another video from me in that direction. I find this decision extremely powerful, and previous studies, actually, I'm going to link the studies I'm mentioning in the description, by Leikin, by Marina Skrjabin, and by Kelkel, have cataloged such occurrences. My findings recast them as deliberate, expressive nuances that align with the kind of intermodal elasticity, thereby changing the interpretive picture. During my own performance of Désir, I opted for an unconventional way to order the notes in a roll of the very last chord in measure 14. This way, I think that there is more spatial volume in the chord itself. The tones end up in a quasi-dialogue, resonating with each other, as if they were hanging or floating in the air. I see them better this way. Another example is rolling the left-hand chords off the beat. So it's not fully clear where the beat itself is, approximately somewhere probably in the middle of the rolled chord, but neither at the start and nor at the end. This treatment of rolls results in a more fluid line and a flexible timing when beats are neither accented nor emphasized by a rolled chord, such as in measures 103 through 106 of the Sonata number 10, Opus 70. And another example of such rolled chords between the beat can be seen in the Prelude, Opus 67, number 1. In Flamme Sombre, Opus 73, number 2, I emphasize inner voices in chords for several reasons. One of them is an acknowledgement of Scriabin's harmonic decisions, such as in measure 4, beat 4, at the climax of the first phrase, when there is a statement of the mystic chord, including an E flat, after a number of enharmonic fluctuations between D sharps and E flats during the previous measures. In case you're not familiar with the mystic chord, please check this video that is linked up here on the 7 main symbolic motivic gestures in Scriabin's music. According to Sabaneyev, who was one of Scriabin's biographers, enharmonic differences were very important to the composer. He was very careful to distinguish where he should put this or that enharmonic designation, and seemed to be guided by some theory of his own in doing so. Another reason to bring out the middle voices is following the melody that crosses over to another register and is woven into a chord, as in measure 6, beat 4, or the downbeat of measure 11. The latter is also treated with a substantial rubato, which subtly aids the voicing and phrasing of the melodic line in the passage. Antonio Grande brings out the topic of Scriabin's physicality, referring to Macdonald's writings. He had rather small hands, which obliged him to arpeggiate the wide-ranging chords that are frequent in his music. This leads to a practice of continuous adjustments of the attacks and release for these piano figures, which never turn out to be perfectly in time, with results not very different from the equally numerous out-of-time groups of notes to be played as quick flickers. In other words, he writes out a rolled chord in the form of a passage, such as the sparkling closing theme of Sonata number 7. This device, however, is often implemented by myself even when there is no roll written in the chord, due to a reason that I myself possess quite small hands for a pianist. Another example of how to roll chords is going to be from the beginning of Sonata number 3, the first movement. So in measure 2 we have a chord and the outer notes form a minor tense. Of course, I cannot reach that. So I could have broken it this way, or But I choose to actually distribute the notes of the left hand in a way that my right hand's chord falls in between. This way, I feel that it's rather more melodic and less accented. Even though the sonata is very grounded, the beginning is active and heavy, drammatico, so very dramatic. Going forward, I still feel that it's much more convincing when this chord resonates in the space because I do not bump the notes into each other. The same way it's going to happen in measure 4, but there is another interesting thing that I would like to show you. In the left hand part, we have a rolled chord that I roll in a very funny way because I do indeed roll the bottom part. And then I stack the 5th on top. Why? Well, I have a valid reason. Because in the right hand part, the chord is written without any roll. But I cannot reach it this way. I can't reach this major 9th, no way. So what am I doing? I'm actually rolling this chord in the right hand, but I would not like the entire chord to sound too rolled. It becomes more into the direction of maybe French Impressionists. I don't want the beginning of Scriabin's Sonata No. 3 to sound like this, to be honest. So, because I roll in the right hand, I decide to stack in the left hand. This way, I still preserve the drama, I still roll, but I still do have a part of the chord played together. Once again, one last time. The last example for today's video, in regard to how to roll chords in Scriabin and not only, is going to be from the beginning of Sonata No. 6, measures 1 through 3. We have mystérieux concentré, mysterious, concentrated, indicated in the beginning of the work. In measure 1, I'm physically unable to reach neither the minor 10th with my left hand nor the major 9th with my right hand. Therefore, I had to decide how precisely I break these chords. While the marking mysterious, written in the beginning, can be puzzling or even misleading, the key factor is the second word in Scriabin's initial indication, concentrated. To me, this has immediately served as a sign that I by no means should be rolling this chord, so no roll, in order to keep it concentrated, because rolling would romanticize the character from the beginning instead of emphasizing the darkness of the piece. The Sonata No. 6 is a very, very dark piece. By the way, my course demos of the Scriabin piano sonatas are put together as a playlist and linked up here as well as in the description, and the full versions of all my courses are available for purchase. There is another link in the description. Each course is about 2 to 2.5 hours of length, and there is a whole detailed in-depth lesson provided on each sonata. So let's experiment and actually roll the chord. This is what we would get. But if we stack the chord, and I do it in 2 parts, it becomes much more concentrated indeed. In measure 2, I made a decision to follow the lower part of the right hand as the leading voice. I also have to break the chord in each hand, and it is essential that the lower parts are stronger, so on the beat, while the top note of each hand's part is secondary in terms of the voicing hierarchy, because it moves. And I put the top part, the top voice, after the beat. And then, of course, in measure 3, we return back to the B after the B and then the B flat, and then we go. Yes, so that's the start of the strange winged motif, étrange ailé. In fact, I try to stack both parts of the chord as fast as I possibly can. Therefore, I play the lower 2 notes of each hand's part with both hands simultaneously and add each of the upper notes in each hand also simultaneously. This time I must roll the chord in the left hand in order for it not to blend with the 2 initial 16th notes of the winged motif itself, which would become the case if I had decided to stack it once again with the emphasis on the bass, such as it has been in the previous measure. Let's see the comparison. As opposed to, it would seem that this bass part, the 2 notes in the bass, are also part of the winged motif, but they are not, because the winged motif goes, and I need to make sure that my left hand's part is something else. It does not belong to the motif itself. The motif is only in the melody. If I would have emphasized the top note in the left hand, the F, this one, it would sound heavier than I would have wanted it to, but it should be accompanying the winged motif. Therefore, I start rolling my left hand before the beat. So by the time it arrives to the top F, the right hand starts the B together with the F, emphasized by the tenuto, and flies off to the C sharp, followed by the 16th rest. According to my personal judgment, the roll serves as a prediction of the winged motif and fits its character better. Subsequently, I redistribute the notes of the last chord of this excerpt in measure 3 beat 2 between the hands, which is always my first consideration in case when I'm not able to reach the entire chord as written. In this particular case, the right hand rapidly repositions itself in order to be able to play the F from the left hand part together with the upper voice C sharp. This repositioning gesture had required practice. However, I can state that it is fully functional. So here I take the F into the right hand, and here is the excerpt from the performance. So here are some of my creative strategies and approaches that I have developed in order to handle large chordal formations in a way that is purposeful and coherent with the overall character of the piece rather than just arbitrary. If you have small hands, I hope that this video was interesting and helpful for you. Make sure to check out my piano tutorial videos that are linked in the description. There is a whole playlist. Make sure to check out my courses on Scriabin piano sonatas. And in case you're interested in having private lessons with me, there is a link to contact me through my website. Stay in touch and let me know what other videos on piano playing and on Scriabin you would like me to create for you. Thank you so much for watching, and I'm going to see you in the next video. Bye!